welcome to another Fanboy Film Nerd Galaxy Class spoiler review, Alita Battle Angel. This movie had so much going on, and it's very strange if you compare that very first trailer to the actual finished product, just how different each one is. Not that it's a bad thing, because the first trailer that came out for Battle Angel, I was not impressed. I thought it was going to be a throwaway film, even though it's directed by Robert Rodriguez and it's under the production of James Cameron, who has, two $2 billion films under his belt with Avatar and Titanic. I thought this movie, with that first trailer, was going to be some type of throwaway film. It was supposed to be in that slot of Murderer's Row back in December of 2018, going up against Aquaman and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Bumblebee. It was in Mary Poppins Returns. It was going to be in that bulk of films that came out in December, and they pushed the date back all the way until February, the second week of February, right after Valentine's Day, which I think was very smart, because if I think this film would have came out during that murderous row of films going up against Bumblebee and Into the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man, and some of the other ones, it would have literally bombed to the point where I don't think they would have had any money coming back at all. I mean, it just would have tanked. And truth be told, even though it's pushed back, I'm not sure how much money this movie is going to make. You can tell that from that very first trailer, again, which did not catch my attention, that it was a film that they were throwing everything but the kid. Everything was going to go into this movie. Special effects, sound design, filmed in IMAX. It was going to be a huge film, and you can just tell by that trailer, you're like, I don't know if you're going to even come close to getting your money back. As the other two trailers came out, they kept getting better and better. To that last trailer, I was like, okay, I think I'm on board with this one. I'm going to go out and I'm going to check this film out. I stayed away from film reviews of this one. I try not to look at the trailer too much. I didn't look at everybody, some of the early viewing screenings of it. I tried to stay away from it. I wanted to go into this movie not knowing what anybody thought about it. I heard a little reviews here and there, not so much reviews, just some posts of people I saw early screenings of it saying that it was okay. It's serviceable, just not that it was bad and not that it was overly good. It was just what we kind of expected. Now, I went into this movie thinking I was going to hate it because I love Robert Rodriguez, but at the same time, he does have a tendency of, you don't really know what to expect of him, because a lot of his films don't always feel the same. He's like a Tarantino film, even though they're good friends. When you go see a Tarantino film, you're going to get a certain type of movie. When you go see a J.J. Abrams film, you're going to get a certain type of movie. Steven Spielberg, they have their own style. Rodriguez doesn't always do that. Every once in a while, you'll watch a film and you'll be like, Robert Rodriguez was involved with that? You just don't get that sense. And I thought this movie, if you didn't tell me Robert Rodriguez directed this movie, I never would have guessed he directed this movie. It does not feel like any other movie Rodriguez directed. In fact, this movie feels like it was directed by James Cameron, but a very under-inspired James Cameron, meaning this is not nearly on an Avatar level.
Alita Battle Angel stars Rosa Salazar as Alita, Christoph Waltz as Dr. Dyson Edo, Jennifer Connelly as Chiren, Mahershala Ali as Vector, Ed Skrien as Zapan, Jackie Earle Haley as Grewishka, Keean Johnson as Hugo, and it was directed by Robert Rodriguez, writer-producer James Cameron.
When Christoph Waltz's character of Dr. Edo finds in this scrapyard, there's just basically the upper torso and head of this cyborg, he takes it home and he attaches it to a body that he had already made for his daughter, who was murdered earlier. And you find out through events in the film that obviously Alita plays a special part in his heart because she reminds him of his daughter. And I'm not sure if it reminds him of his daughter in a way where it looks like him, because they show a flashback scene of the daughter and she doesn't look anything like her. So I guess it was just part of him, because his job as his doctor, he repairs people's cybernetic parts. And there's this wave of this is where the movie kind of gets a little weird because there's so much going on that is not fully fleshed out that it's actually hard to talk about it, even in a spoiler review. Because there are people being attacked in the city and getting limbs chopped off, and a lot of the people in the city have, replaceable limbs. And as we get into the future, because this movie is set in the year 2500 something, and we already know because right now in the year 2019, we put prosthetic arms and robotic limbs. We even got technology now that with arm replacements that can actually grow with the human body. So a child could actually have a mechanical hand that actually grows with them. We have that technology right now. So it made sense in this film that, people are living longer because the technology has changed. If you need a new heart, they just put a new heart in you. If you need a new liver, they put a new liver in you. The only thing that's really holding you back is once this goes, your head, then you're finally dead. But everything else is fair game. Like, people are living longer, and as long as you have your head, you can live in this world. And so he finds her, and he puts on this very cool, and you've seen it in the trailers. It looks like marble, and it's soft, and it has sensory, I don't know, sensors in her for her to be able to touch things and feel things like a human being would, even though it's a cyborg. So once he turns her on, she has to kind of refine who she is. She has been out of commission, deactivated for 300 years. And the only thing that remained was her upper torso. She has no body when he finds her. So she has no memory of her prior life. And she immediately goes into like trying to figure out senses again. As far as touch, taste, smell, things like that. She has to relearn all of that. The only thing she knows how to do is basically wake up. And as she starts to learn these things, it processes it she goes through them very quickly. She's picking up things very quickly. Now, in the film, one of the things I thought that they did a little bit too much in the beginning of the film was it had a little bit of a pace that felt like it dragged on. Even though you needed to know the information, the way that it was presented, some of the scenes are long. They're very long takes of her talking to people and her learning, which is fine. It's actually pretty good. I actually enjoyed that aspect of it. But I knew going into this film, because this is not based on like some throwaway thing. This is something James Cameron wanted to work on for years and years and years. He's been talking about working on Alita Battle Angel, and a lot of people thought he would direct this film, but he's so wrapped up in his 25,000 Avatar movies, because he has 4 more Avatar films coming out soon, that obviously this is not something he can do. But he did write some of this film. So a lot of this stuff, I'm going to say, not so much Robert Rodriguez's fault. Now, he's the director, and I know what he does on set, that's all on him. But you can tell in this film, James Cameron he was there doing a lot of things. You can just tell. You can tell by the lighting, the way that some of the scenes are shot. It had a lot of James Cameron stuff in it. So I can't totally blame Rodriguez. So I'm going to refer to this movie, every time I say something, I'm going to refer to it as they. Because I feel like James Cameron does have a lot to play in this film and how it unfolded. And this film is based on source material from graphic novel, I believe. And I haven't read any of the books or anything like that, so I'm not even going to go into it. I have no idea reference-wise. I read over it a little bit before I did this review, just to get a sense of it, how close it was to the material, what other people were saying. And there are a lot of changes, as any adaptation from any written material that makes it to the screen would be. What I liked about this movie was they went all in with her not knowing anything, and she has flashbacks. Now, flashbacks are always tricky in films because you can drop the ball with them. We all know that. Flashbacks have to be put in very strategically to make them work if you're going to keep using it as a plot or device as for exposition or revealing things. The problem is with this movie is that you go a very long time before you actually see what she actually is. And up until that point, there are things that are very weird that are explained in this world, and you have absolutely no idea what the fuck they are talking about. Now, I'm usually pretty good with, remembering, okay, this person's connected to this person's connected to that. But when you have a universe where everybody's names are super fucking weird, it's very confusing when you're hearing them in a movie, but they're talking about these people, but you don't see their faces, and you have to try to remember these weird-ass names. it really became fucking weird. I would say that once the movie starts to pick up, it picks up, and you have a few spots here and there where it slows down again. This film had a bit of a pacing issue. It really did. Because when things sped up, it sped up to the point where once it was over, you're like, wow, what the fuck was that? And then when it slows down, you find yourself being like, holy shit, this is not that interesting. You could have told us that a lot faster. So I felt like it had a little bit of a pacing issue. Now, I think that it would be different for each person who's watching it and your expectations of what you're getting out of it, but I will say this. Just to skip to the end, this movie does end in a cliffhanger, and I felt like soon as that first act ended and it starts to pick up, I'm like, there's no way in living hell this movie's going to be able to wrap itself up in this allotted time, because they wasted so much time setting up this universe and all these people and factions, which we'll get to in a second, that I'm like, there's no way in living hell, unless this movie is balls to the walls, action paced, rushed to the hilt, they are going to have to make a sequel to this. There's just literally no way. They kept on, every scene, it seemed like they would bring up something else. You're like, holy fuck, that you didn't explain that right. There's holes missing in this story. Or it's like, oh wow, somebody mentioned something and you would never hear it again referenced in the film. And I was picking up on that. I'm like, shit, man. And the movie ends in a huge cliffhanger. We'll get to that later. So let's get into, like, the basic plot is her, just like anybody who has a memory. They're trying to find a memory, and she's trying to figure out who she is, what her purpose is, why was she deactivated for 300 years, and what is this world? So we kind of learning, not only are we learning about her past, but she's also trying to learn about this world she's in because she's never been in it. And as she starts to get flashbacks, there are some really cool things in this movie. Let's get to the sci-fi action aspect of this movie. There are a couple of scenes in this movie where my jaw dropped. She has a flashback. The first fight scene she has in the movie, she has a very defensive style to her, meaning she's bred for war. So whenever danger or anything happens, she kind of just goes in robot mode and she just starts wrecking up shit, and it's fucking great. There's a fighting style called Legendary Panzer Kunst that her particular model cyborg back during this war, which they call is called the Fall. I guess as well, so they refer to things after the Fall. The Fall War is where she was deactivated in, and these cyborgs that her particular model are the most advanced cybernetic orbited. Let's try that again. She's one of the most advanced cyborgs ever created. The most advanced cyborgs ever created by man, and her suit is, of course, the whole thing now is like nanotechnology. So her suit can conform to her body and her mind, and she can basically make her body look the way she feels she is. Her perception of what she looks like, her body would fit it. And I thought that was pretty cool because that makes it personal. So all these warriors that she's fighting with, they all have their own personalities, not only from that, like, again, we're talking about like the torso up is like the more human-looking aspect of it. The rest of the body is clearly cyborg, and they don't even try to go and hide it. Like, if you watch the movie Ex Machina, the cyborgs in that, you can see, like, their skin missing, and there you can see cybernetic parts, but they do have the option in that movie of actually covering the whole body up with skin that sticks to the cybernetic exoskeleton. So, or I shouldn't say exoskeleton. Anything cybernetic part-wise can be covered up with flesh in Ex Machina, I mean. In this one, they don't really so much do that. It's like they just go ahead and just leave the cybernetic parts out. And I don't know if that's like an identification thing to make sure that the people know the difference between the cyborgs and the humans, because that'll get into why her eyes are so big. You've seen it from the trailers if you haven't seen this movie, but of course, this is a spoiler review. If you're watching this and haven't seen the movie, fuck you. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. Spoiler review. This fanboy, spoiler review. So we go in hard on these. So it looked like they were trying to, like, okay, well, if you see these certain types, you can tell the difference. So that's why I was thinking the whole, between the big eyes and everything, clearly a plot device for human beings in their world to be able to tell the difference. So one of the things that is cool about this movie is the sci-fi action. Like I said, that my jaw dropped. There's a moon sequence. There's a battle sequence during this war. And it's on the moon. And the sound design and the way this is shot, first of all, it feels a lot like James Cameron. There's a lot of Avatar-looking sequences in this movie as far as action goes, the way it's filmed. And we'll get into the 3D in just a second. But there was a couple of times in this movie when my jaw was dropped. There's a game in this movie called Motorball, and in this race, whoever becomes the ultimate champion goes up into the sky, and there's this giant sky city. It's just like a big flat disc. It's a city up in the sky. It's like one of the last ones on Earth that's up there, and they have these big tubes that run onto the planet. And the only way you get up and down is there are cybernetic things made down on the planet, and they're shipped up to the Sky City. Now, I forget the name of it, but there's a higher society up there. So anybody who is aspiring to get up there, there's only one way to do it. You have to get into this motorball game, which is basically kind of like roller derby mixed with Quidditch from like Harry Potter and shit. And if whoever becomes the ultimate grand champion, the one who nobody can defeat, they earn the right to go up to the Sky City and live amongst the elite human beings who are clearly have distanced themselves from the people below, who would be considered, I guess, in this world, middle class people. Because the people down below, they're not necessarily not well off or struggling or anything. They're just living. There's just this other elite society up high. I mean, I guess in the United States, you equivalent that to be in like, you make a decent living, but you have millionaires amongst you. You have, the government living in Washington D.C., White House and stuff like that. You just have these people who are keeping everything together. And when they have junk, they send their junk right back down to Earth. And unfortunately, there's these huge scrapyards of junk that comes from this city. And people like this doctor go through it in times and pick up parts. And he's picking up parts because he needs them to repair people. His job is to repair people. Now, we're going to get into this whole little family dynamic here in a second. But I'm going to talk quickly about the IMAX experience. I saw this in IMAX 3D. Love the IMAX. Hated the 3D. I absolutely hated the fucking 3D. I am not a 3D fan. In fact, I got my glasses right here. I hate 3D. I can't stand it. The only reason why I saw this movie in 3D is because I am on the AMC A-list, and I don't know if you have an AMC. I say this in all my videos. If you have an AMC near you, a theater, or a theater, a bunch of theaters, $20 a month, 3 movies a week, completely free. I paid $2.05 today for my mozzarella sticks because I had a $5 rewards thing I had from it. So basically, I didn't pay for my ticket and I didn't pay for basically my food. I got it in for free, and I'm paying for it, but it feels like for free. But normally, when you charge somebody, like I didn't have to pay for it, but there's a lot of people. Most of the people in the theater had to pay for this movie. There are certain movies that do great in 3D. I'm not a huge fan of it. Avatar was the last movie I saw in 3D, and I thought Avatar was great in 3D. I loved it. I still think the best 3D movie I've ever seen is Coraline in 3D. I thought that movie was brilliant in 3D. This movie, in my opinion, shouldn't even be in 3D. And I've heard a lot of complaints about this before I even saw the movies. A lot of people complained that this movie, there was something, the way that they filmed it, it just doesn't look right in 3D. And haven't seen it, it was distracting at times. There are shots in this movie where I'm like, why is this shot in 3D? Because it doesn't look like it needs to be in 3D. In fact, it almost at times in the movie, it was like I was wearing 3D glasses and I should have taken them off. It's weird because things, when you see it in IMAX, there's a huge screen. And now I like to sit a little closer to the screen. I don't like sitting way up back out of the way. So when you're wearing these things, for one, people work on these films. It's like, if you're in the film industry, you're working on these films, you get all the color correction right, and then you got to take these fucking glasses with this tint on it and put it over your eyes. I hate that. I did not like this movie in 3D. I was annoyed the whole time. In fact, by the time I got halfway through the movie, I forgot I was even watching a 3D movie because there wasn't a lot of things that shocked you about being in 3D. Really, the best part about the 3D opener was the IMAX 3D logo. It was like the IMAX 3D. That shit looked fucking cool. The movie? No. This? Waste of fucking time for this movie. If you can go see this movie in IMAX, go see it in IMAX. Good luck trying to find it in IMAX without the 3D, though. I had to go see this movie in 3D. None of the theaters around here showed it in digital, except for an auditorium with the screen so small that I'm like, I avoid that one like the plague. It's just, the screen to me is just too damn small for a movie this big. So, since I didn't have to pay for it anyway, I'm like, let me just go see it IMAX 3D, get it over with. I didn't think I would like the film anyway, even though I ended up liking it. But I do not recommend it in 3D. You can go see this movie in IMAX. I do recommend it in IMAX, mainly for the sound design. The sound design in this movie is unbelievably good. It is really good. There are some parts in this movie that reminded me of Ready Player One. Sometimes it felt like in this world, like it was almost in the same universe as Ready Player One. Like I kept waiting for any time for Percival to walk across the stage, you know. So, or Artemis, you know. So the stage, or you know, because there's some sequences in this film that it's just so much like Ready Player One. So, which is not a bad thing. I thought it was pretty good. But getting back to Alita here, how does she work as a character? Now, going into it, we know like she is CGI character, and she is. The actress who plays her, Rosa Salazar, I think does an amazing job. I think everybody did a good job in this movie, except for the dude who played Hugo. Ugh, God, he took me out of the movie so much. He just didn't seem like he fit in this world to me. I just didn't buy his character. And as she's piecing together her memory, she also finds she can love. And there's a sequence in this movie because there's these different factions. And if I'm throwing stuff out, that's what it felt like to watch the movie. Shit just pops up. Christoph Waltz is not only a doctor, he's also a hunter, a bounty hunter. Like he hunts down. There's these bounties you can get, and you can hunt down. Anybody can go get a bounty hunter card. You just walk in and say like, I want to be a bounty hunter, and you get this card, and they'll let you go and fight and find these people and bring it back. You get money for it, and since he doesn't charge his clients when he's repairing their limbs and whatever, the only way he can keep himself going is he does these bounties. She wants to become one. He doesn't want her to do it. She ends up getting her body destroyed. And it was pretty cool. That cool marble looking armor, which I loved. I thought I was disappointed when it got destroyed. That armor was meant for Christoph Waltz's daughter, who is also Jennifer Connelly, which was weird to me because Jennifer Connelly comes in. The daughter of Christoph Waltz is also Jennifer Connelly's daughter. They were married and had this kid. And after she died, because there was one of the guys he repaired came in and accidentally murdered his daughter. And after she died, he continued doing what she was doing. Jennifer Connelly, goes up to the Sky City place and gets involved with Mahershala Ali's character, Vector, who is kind of the middleman between all the bounty hunter stuff going on down there, the motorball game, all that stuff. And he's also basically the voice of the person who oversees that Sky City and the Earth, which is who they call Nova. And he can basically invade Vector's body and speak to people who he's talking to. So with this going on, Jennifer Connelly is with Vector up here, figuring all this stuff out. And somewhere along the way, I don't know if it's because Alita, it was, her seeing Alita with the body that was meant for her daughter, because Christoph Waltz's daughter was in a wheelchair, could not walk, so he made this body for her. And after she died, he had no use for the body, so he put it on Alita once he found her. Jennifer Connelly's character sees her on the street, and ever since that moment, she kind of goes into this mode of trying to help her. It was very weird. Jennifer Connelly's story arc in this movie was bizarre to me because every scene she was like a different fucking character. It's like she started off, she was kind of super evil at the beginning. Like she had this weird evilness to her, like really weird. Then you see in the next scene and she's kind of compassionate. Then you see in the next scene and she's kind of like no personality. You see in the next scene she's helping. And then you see in the next scene she's helping, but she's not. And then she's up against this guy. And then it got to be, I'm like, Jennifer, what the fuck is going on with your character? Not her fault. She acted beautifully as always. Jennifer is a great actress. But it was weird. There was a lot of things thrown out that never resolved itself or was explained fully. Like, even though her daughter died, they never really explained how the fuck did you end up there with the Sky people. They give an explanation, but it's just not enough. It's just a throwaway line. Just to have, there's just shit going on. The bounty hunter faction, when Alita finally becomes a bounty hunter, she walks into this bounty hunter office without any build up to what she's saying anyway, and she immediately goes into, we need to take down the Sky City. And you're like, what the fuck is going on? Why is she just walking in here out of nowhere and it's like talking about taking down the Sky City when there was no mention of that before? You found out later in the movie why is because in her programming in that war, that's what they were fighting. They were fighting the people who were building the Sky City. But you don't know that at the moment, and it just comes out of nowhere. She's just like, which at the end of the movie you get it. But that doesn't help you when you're going through the movie where every single scene, there's somebody saying something where you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Or they're mentioning a character and you're like, which character was that? Because their names are all fucking weird. Or it was just... And normally I'm on that shit. But this is definitely a movie. If you're really invested in this movie and you like it like I do, I'm going to have to go back and see it again. Because I know the second time through, everything's going to make a lot more sense. And I think it'd be a better movie for it. Because there were so many things I was waiting for a payoff of, a line, a character, whatever, and you just don't get it. And that brings me to the cliffhanger ending. I could smell the cliffhanger coming pretty much since the second act because it kept on bringing up stuff, and I'm like, there's no way in living hell they're going to be able to wrap up all these storylines and all these story arcs. All these characters were like huge characters. Vector, he has a huge part. He ends up getting killed in the movie, but he's connected to Nova. So like, okay, well, when are we going to get to Nova? This movie is going to be ending in 20 minutes. What the fuck? You have like 2 hours worth of shit that you got to wrap up in 20 minutes? So it was making me a little nervous. And I was actually happy to end it in a cliffhanger because I'm like, well, hopefully they don't like cram too much in the last 10 minutes. It wasn't the last 10 minutes. It was like the last 30 minutes. Once the third act comes, it's just going and going and going and going. And they're speeding up through some of the best parts of what could have been the best parts of the movie, the emotional impact of it. Hugo, she falls in love with Hugo like basically instantly. She's like attracted to him or whatever, and he's a human. He's part of some of these factions that are helping tear off limbs and stuff for these people because there's a belief coming from Nova through Vector that if you collect enough bounties and you save up your money, you can buy your way up to the Sky City. And it ends up being a lie. So Hugo, this guy that she likes, is basically, he's part of these factions who they're going around and just, they're taking people, kidnapping them, ripping off the limbs, and they're selling them because they're trying to buy their way off of this scrapyard land up into the city, which nobody's ever been to. So people don't even know what they expect when they get up there because nobody's ever been up there. There are a few people who have been born up there. Christoph Waltz's character was born up there. Jennifer Connelly's character was born up there, and they've come down. So you have people who've been up there before. Alita was born up there, or she's not born up there. She had been up there. She just forgot what was up there. But they never show you what's up there outside of some office stuff, and But I just thought that was a little strange because once she falls in love with him, they do fall in love, and he kisses her for the first time, and then he ends up getting fucked up really bad. Gets ripped apart by, one of these battles, these fight scenes, and he's put into a suit. And then literally, like, 5 minutes later, he's dead with the suit. So he gets, like, ripped apart again, and he's so you're like, wait a minute. We just spent all this time with this guy getting his suit put on. He wakes up, and they're about to go do this thing, and he ends up fucking dying anyway. And you don't feel the emotional impact because at that point, you are invested in a relationship building up to that. They have a very sweet relationship. They're helping each other out. But once you figure out that he's working to get up into the Sky City, you don't know if he's like legitimate or not. And then once you figure out, oh yeah, he actually is legitimate, then he's fucking dead. So you kind of go on this roller coaster ride of them bonding or whatever, and it makes it almost feel like it was a waste of time. Because every emotion she felt in this movie, she could have felt that exact same emotion without this character. He motivated her to a certain extent, but the person she calls father, Christoph Waltz, is really her motivation for doing a lot of this stuff and her regaining her memory. Her love for Hugo really has nothing to do with what she doing in this movie. She could have done everything in this movie. His character could have been gone, and you never would have fucking noticed the difference. So I just thought that was pretty interesting in its own right. And I will get into... like I said, the action, sci-fi action. If you're a fan of sci-fi action, you're going to love this movie. If you're a fan of Ready Player One, you're going to love this movie. I ended up liking this movie. And I think it's because I set the bar very low, and I ended up going into it without really knowing much about the movie. I enjoyed that aspect of it. There are a lot of close-ups and things going on where people are talking, and you're getting an emotional weight from it. And I think this movie does do a good job at that. They commit to these characters. And there is a lot of action in this movie, but the action is earned through the character development. Unfortunately, there was so much character development, it ended up leaving a lot of holes in this movie. Now, the movie ended in a cliffhanger. You do get to meet Nova for the first time. You get to see, okay, there's going to be another one. But we have to wait for that. It'd be even better if they do make a sequel. I'm not sure this movie's going to get a sequel. To be honest, I really don't want to see a sequel. I'm perfectly fine with it just being left the way it was, because the movie ends with her pointing the sword up at Nova. He takes his thing off, his glasses off, he reveals himself, and you just, technically, it could be conceived as a cliffhanger. But at the same time, I don't really think this movie would suffer if it never had a sequel. Yeah, there's some plot holes and stuff in it, stuff that they brought up that clearly is supposed to be in another film. But if we never get that movie, I wouldn't be shocked by it. This is not an easy movie to make. This is a very expensive, tough movie to pull off. And you're going to have to do even better than that in the sequel. Or go cheaper with it. And I just don't see it. I just don't see them being able to make something that people are going to be like, I really want to see a sequel to this. Because even somebody like me who liked the movie, I could care less if I see a sequel to this movie. I really could care less. I think this is an entertaining movie in itself. I have to get over the fact that there's just certain things that are not going to be explained in it. But enough of it is explained for this to still be an enjoyable movie. This is a very good movie. I don't give ratings that there's a B+ or whatever. I give it a thumbs up. I recommend you see it in the theater. I don't think this movie is one of those movies where you're going to get it home on your TV and be like, oh, it's great. I think it's definitely a better experience in the theater, especially on IMAX. There are a lot of big shots in this movie. The sound design is unbelievable. The fight scenes, the choreography, all that's top-notch, great stuff. Good, great sci-fi action. And they did not drop the ball in the action. That's one thing you got to give them credit for. The movie is gorgeous. It's absolutely beautiful. Alita works. You believe her. She looks real in this world. You actually believe she's in this world. They pulled it off. I thought the big eyes thing would be weird. This movie was great when it comes to that. The only problem I had with it was pacing, the plot, character development, which was actually pretty good, but it was just too much of it on too many different characters without the payoff. So, yes, this movie's good. It's going to be even better if they make a sequel, and it'll be even better the second time you watch it, I believe. I'm going to probably go back and see it again because it was an enjoyable movie, and I want to see what this movie would be like once I know who these people are they're referring to. Instead of once you get to the third act, you're like, oh, that was the guy he was talking about. It's like, it'll be good to watch the movie knowing that the first time. So that'll do it for this Alita Battle Angel Fanboy Film Nerd Galaxy Class spoiler review. I'll see you guys on the next movie night. Take care.